In this video, you will learn about verb conjugation. So how do we conjugate verbs in Spanish? And what is conjugating? So conjugating is just making a verb agree with its subject. It's the same as in English. There are different classification of verbs in Spanish. We have the infinitives and infinitivo, regular verbs, transitives, and intransitives, and so on, similar to English. When we say infinitive verb, this is the basic form of the verb or the base form. And we have the regular and irregular verbs. Regular and irregular verbs, this category is mainly based on the way of conjugating verbs. Since most of the verbs in Spanish are regular and they can be conjugated, so we use the regular verbs here in conjugating according to the models of verbs ending in ar, and ir. So in conjugating each verb, we will start with the infinitive or the base form of the verb. Now we have here the subject pronouns and some examples of the infinitive verbs in Spanish. So we have I, we, you, they, he, she, it. So we have I, yo, nosotros, we, tú, you. If it's singular and informal, we use tú, vosotros. We use vosotros if it's you, informal, in plural form. And then we have él, ella, usted, singular form, he, she, it, and you, formal. And then we have ellos, ellas, ustedes, plural form, which means they in English. Now let's start conjugating. Say for example, this word here, hablar, which means to speak. Hablar here is the base form of the verb. So how do we conjugate the word hablar? So hablar here, we just have to divide this into two. Its stem and its ending. So hablar, we can divide this into two. And then the ending is ar. Okay, so we have the stem and the ending. So in conjugating this verb, hablar, we just have to change the ending, ar, depending on which subject pronoun we use. So let's do that. So let's start with pronoun I or yo. When we say I speak, so we just change ar with o. So this would become hablo. Yo hablo. And for nosotros, we just change ar with amos. So this would become hablamos. And for tú, which means you in English, informal and singular, we use, this would become hablas. Tú hablas. Tú hablas español. For vosotros, this would become habláis. Okay, have you noticed the ending? They are changed to o, amos, as, ais instead of ar. Now how about the he, she, it, ella, usted? So we would just change ar to a. So this would be habla. Él habla español. Ella habla español. Usted habla español. And then for they, which are the ellos, ellas, ustedes, we change ar to an. So this would, hablar would become hablan. Ellos hablan, ustedes hablan, ellas hablan español. Now you've learned how to conjugate the verb hablar. Now let's conjugate the verb comer and viver. Comer, which means to eat. Okay, we just divide this into two, com and then er. So we just have to replace er, the ending er, with a different ending, depending on the subject pronoun. So com here is the stem and er is the ending. Okay. For I, yo, comer would become como. Yo como. I eat. We eat. Nosotros comemos. You eat. Tú comes. Okay. You eat. Informal plural. So this would become comes. And then for ella, usted, this would become come. And for ellos, ellas, ustedes, this would become comen. See, have you noticed the changes here? For er, we just change it to o, hemos, es, eis, e, en. So that would be I eat, yo como. We eat, nosotros comemos. You eat, tú comes. You eat, vosotros coméis. He eats, él come. She eats, ella come. You eat, usted come. Ellos, ellas, ustedes comen. So now let's conjugate the verb viver. Oh, this should be IR. Vivir means to live. So vivir here ends with ir. In conjugating the word vivir, we just have to replace the ending ir with, depending on the subject pronouns that we use. So we have viv, ir, vivir. And we just have to change the ending here. The same with hablar and comer. So when we say, I live, okay, you will say in Spanish, there would be yo vivo. So vivir would become vivo. We just change the ending ir to o. With nosotros, this would become vivimos. See, we change ir with imos. For tú, this would become vives. So our ir here is changed to s. And for vosotros, this would become vivis. Okay. And for él, ella, usted, this would just be vive. And for ellos, ellas, ustedes, this would become viven. Viven. So we've already conjugated the regular verbs that end in ar, er, and ir. So So you take note, it depends on the subject pronouns that you use in the sentence. Let's take note that those regular verbs that end in ar, the ending, the ar will be changed to o, amos, as, ais, a, an. And for those verbs that end in er, we change er to o, hemos, es, eis, e, en. And for those verbs that ends in ir, we change ir to o, imos, es, is, e, en. Okay, I've listed some Spanish verbs here that you can try conjugating, and I will be discussing more verbs in the next lessons.